Hi guys, Scott here from Outlaw Garage. We're still in lockdown in Melbourne, so we're going to take the opportunity to do a bit of a tour of the 356. So let's crack on, roll the B-roll. So we've got the car down here on level 7. We found a spot where the car's not too badly lit, and we can take you through some of the design details on the car. As we go through this, we're going to take you from front to back through the inside of the car, and what we'll try and do is put up some pictures of how we found the car and some of the process that we went through as we were building the car. So hope you enjoy the video. Let's crack on with the details. So we'll go through some of the more obvious parts of the car to start off with. Stepping away from the bare metal at the moment, all the chrome has been converted to black, so that was all stripped back and repainted. On the front we've got the grills over the headlights. As anybody knows with these old cars, headlights are not very good at the best of times. The grills don't really help that, but they do look particularly cool. What is more of a subtle change on the car is that the bumpers have been modified. So on the front, they've been pulled in closer to the body and reshaped. So that has meant on the bottom of the bumpers, they've needed a bit of a cut and to be heated and pushed into the body more. So it gives it that tighter look. You see on a lot of Outlaws that the bumpers have been removed. Otherwise the bumpers can look a little bit out of place on these cars. But on this one, we've actually modified the bumpers to keeping, I guess, in keeping with the car. In keeping all the time. So here we are on the hood of the car. This is the original 356 fuel tank. We did used to have an old Carrera fuel tank, but when we filled the car up originally with fuel, we found that the tank actually had a small leak in it. We went to fix the leak, welding it up, and as you can imagine, there's some risk welding a fuel tank, and it actually blew out. So we've still got the old fuel tank, and we've got the straps here to fit the Carrera tank, and we can modify the straps again to fit it in. I think that's what we might do in the future. As you can see, leather trim on the inside. Got a spare wheel there and all the equipment that goes with it. Batteries down there at the front as well, but all looking clean and tidy. I don't know if you can kind of quite pick that up on the camera, but these bonnets are always a little bit hard to push down, and over time you can see that we've got just a small dent on that right hand side where we've been pushing her down. I think if she was a painted car we'd be a little bit more careful, but on this car we've never really paid too much attention to it, and in actual fact I think some of that denting may have been originally from when we got the car. So keeping to the outside of the car for a little while, these 356Bs were drum brakes all the way around. However, this one has got disc brakes on the front. This is a kit provided by Air Cooled, just makes the car a little bit more drivable, modern, and a little bit safer on the roads, having that additional braking power. So this is the driver's side of the car. This side of the car actually shows less scarring than the passenger side, but you can see on the front clip the rust, the cut marks and the weld marks along the body of the car. You can kind of trace them over, and then this side it gets a little bit more obvious. What we've tried to do when we were restoring the car or getting the car back on the road is that we tried to keep a lot of the history of the car. So this car was originally a left-hand drive car. It had been semi-restored. The rear had been stripped back, and the front still had, I don't know if it was original blue, but it still had blue paint on the car. What we did was we stripped the whole car back. We've repaired somewhat some of the scars and the metalwork that needed to be repaired on the car, and then the car was clear coated. And what you'll see is that there is a degree of, I guess, surface rust that is appearing on the car. So that's on the front passenger side wing. There is a bit on the further down on the car, around here by the front of the car as well. Underneath the headlight, there's a fair bit there, but the clear coat doesn't have the, I guess, anti-oxidization properties and anti-rust properties that paint does. So it doesn't really provide the same level of protection as paint. So what you do get over a period of time is you get an increase in surface rust and patina on the car. You do have to be particularly careful when doing bare metal, because any touching of the car, any kind of sweat or I guess human interaction with a car can increase rust on the car. And that may have happened in a couple of spots because we probably weren't perfect all the way through it. But she's aging well. Just a little bit of surface rust, considering she was done probably 5-6 years ago. I think she's done well. As you can see, the car hasn't got any wing mirrors. What we actually fitted to the car was a Speedster mirror. To be honest with you, it doesn't really help. Visibility out of that is really low. However, visibility in the car generally is really good, so the mirrors aren't too much of an issue. I think you can still see here around the window frame is that when we originally got the car, all the lead had been removed from around the window. So probably on a car that you weren't going to bare metal, you may have got away with bogging it and putting it back and then painting over the top of it. But of course we're trying to do a particularly good job on this car, and especially with a bare metal car, you can't really hide anything. So what we had to do was re-lead the car, put that back in, and then file it back. So that was a particularly difficult job, and a job that you don't really do much these days because of obviously the issues with leading and the fumes and the metal itself. Okay, so coming around to the rear of the car, obviously the rear wheels have been widened and the car has been lowered. It has a standard 356 gearbox in it, but it's been strengthened by a company here in Melbourne just to be able to take the power of the engine, which we'll come to in a little bit. One of our favourite parts of the car is the translucent racing stripe. So it has a large centre stripe with two smaller stripes at the edge, and that has been painted on and goes all the way to the front roof of the car, where it is designed to loop round and then come back again. It is sometimes a little bit hard to pick up that it's translucent, but in the sunlight it really shows up. Just in the dark, and obviously we've been in a car park bay for a little while now, it kind of looks black most of the time, but it is a translucent stripe. As we said before, all the chrome has been changed to black, so that includes the rear lights, the number plate lights, the rear grille was painted black, and of course the Porsche lettering as well has been converted to black. And if you didn't notice it earlier, the Porsche badge on the front of the car is a black and bare metal badge as well, so all in keeping with the car. Another very noticeable feature of the car is the air scoops on the rear windows. These are used to capture air. They're piped through back to an oil cooler mounted on the firewall of the engine bay. They make a massive difference to how cold the engine runs. In fact, you could argue that it keeps the engine a little bit too cold. In Perth, that probably wasn't too much of an issue. In Melbourne, it might be a bit more of a problem because of the colder weather. What we might do over a period of time is just get some blanking plates on these, so it gives the opportunity for the engine to get up to temperature and be running at the right temperature rather than probably running a little bit cold all the time. It is a nice problem to have, to be running cool rather than hot, but you do want to make sure the engine runs at the right temperature. We'll go through more of the details about the oil cooler when we open the engine hatch. So this is an 86 stroke 94 bore engine, so a 2387, 48mm IDF carburetor kit. It has a Geinberg Porsche cooling fan kit on it, and as people would have spotted, this isn't a Porsche 356 engine. This is actually a CB Performance engine, so a Volkswagen engine in the back of our Porsche. When we originally got the car, it didn't actually have an engine with it. And because we were hot rodding and outlawing this 356, we didn't really feel the need to buy an original 356 engine for it, and decided to go with a Volkswagen option. That did come with some complications of trying to fit the engine, match the engine and the gearbox, and general cooling of the engine, because it is a much larger engine. However, it all came together really well. So as you can see here, this is where the oil cooler is, and the vents coming through to the oil cooler to blast cold air onto it. A carburetor, the Geinberg fan kit, 911 kit. This engine has a dry sump, and the engine all culminates going through to an SS custom exhaust, which we'll show you in a moment. On a standard Volkswagen 356 912 engine, you would be filling the oil up here, and down below, right down at the bottom, is the dipstick for checking your oil level. However, in this car, we do it a little bit differently, and we do it inside the car, which we'll show you in a second. These Geinberg kits are a little bit of an interesting kit. They look fantastic, but they do kind of fracture and age over a period of time. So this will probably need a little bit of a repair in the future, but at the moment seems to be fine, but it will be something that we keep a bit of an eye on. So anybody who's thinking of fitting one of these, have a bit of a think about that. So there we go. What you can see just down there is the oil and crankcase breather box. We've had some issues in the past where if you don't quite get the oil level exactly right, it breathes oil all over the fan and drips down the engine. Just something to be aware of, but that does make a lot of difference to how well the car runs. So what we can see there is the custom rear valance and the SS exhaust. It does sound particularly good when you're driving along and from outside the car. It is straight cut gears as well, so that gives it definitely a lot more of a rugged, edgy sound. And I think because the car's not painted, it does give it a bit more of a, I guess, a drumming and a lot more raw sound to the car. So here we are in the 356, probably our favourite place to be. As you can see on the inside, we've got a leather roof lining, leather around the sun visors, a little bit dusty up there, leather on the dash, and then bare metal as well, so it keeps in the trend of black and bare metal theme throughout the car. The steering wheel is an original 356 steering wheel. This was reconditioned and then coated in leather. Stitching and glued on, so gives it a really nice feel. The size of the 356 steering wheel is good for just being able to park the car and drive around. It's a real kind of lazy position to drive in. Absolutely fantastic. All the gauges are original, and they've all been reconditioned. The radio is a classic retro sound radio, comes with Bluetooth, has a USB connection as well, so you can charge your phone. Just modern update on the radio, and actually works really well. What we will come to, and we'll show you a bit of a closer look, is that we've got a Spider 550 handbrake installed in the car. It's the original shifter on the car as well, although we are looking at getting a short shift kit for it. These are aluminium racing seats that have got a leather lining attached to them, just to make it a little bit more comfortable. You can remove the lining, so if you're at a show you can show off the seats. However, the seats are really comfortable. They're not at all like the bread van seats, where they were pitched at a funny angle and really uncomfortable. These are really moulded really well to your driving position, and a really comfortable seat. So really impressed with these. I'll put a link in the description below for where we got these from, because right at this moment I've forgot. The floor is carpeted. We've got a fire extinguisher here in the front as well, just in case in an emergency that we need it. So we'll just kind of hop out the car, show you the door cards, get a closer look at the seats, and then we'll show you some of the details in the back of the car as well. First off, when getting into the driver's position, you see that the handle has been changed to black, as we talked about all the chrome being removed. The key is the same key for both sides of the car and for the ignition. Just those small things make a massive difference to having the car. The doors open solid, as you would expect with any Porsche. And the first things you notice is the door cards. So these have been custom made out of aluminium and then leather trimmed. So leather stitching as well. And then all across the top of the door is also leather. So the sills on the car, rubber on the outside, the metal trim, and then going to a leather lining on the inside of the car. What you'll see here is that we have custom metal kick plates. These were actually custom made. You couldn't buy them from anywhere. So what we did was we bought a wooden kit that you could buy. We converted that from left-hand drive to right-hand drive, and then made them out of metal and drilled some holes in it to keeping the theme of the car. They came out really well and they fit really well. Carpets there, transition into the leather trim. And the leather trim all on the inside as well, along with the speakers for the stereo. The tunnel is all in leather as well, and that transitions back to the rear of the car. It's a really comfortable driving position on the 356. The only thing is, because that steering wheel's so big and my legs are so short, it can be a little bit hard to get in sometimes, but that's just one of the joys of having the car. So that's the Spider handbrake. Probably a little bit harder to use than the standard 356 handbrake, but it does look particularly cool. And there's a mounting assembly between the two seats, which is a little bit hard to see, so we probably can't show you that right at the moment. Might try and lift the seats forward so you can see that. Here's the seats with the leather trim on them. They look fantastic, and like I said, really, really comfortable. Here we are in the driving position of the car. Got a custom horn button with the bulldog on it. Let's see that that's in focus. And then the dashes and the dials. The stereo there as well. And a lovely view. Not too sure if you can make that out there, but that is the assembly for the handbrake and how it all fits. So here we are, in the back of the 356, ready to check the oil. Not the most comfy of spots, so we do like to do this really quickly. So we're in the back of the 356, not the largest of spaces, but what actually happens is the seat pulls down, and there we go. We have the dry sump set up for the 356. What we do, take that cap off. It's got a dipstick in there and we can check the oil and fill her up if we need to. So that is where all the magic happens. So obviously that is a complete pain in the ass to get to there with checking the oil. So what we do try and do is just make sure that she doesn't have any leaks or have any problems, because that is a bit of an issue. She takes about 7.5 litres of oil to fill her up on a full complete oil change. So she does run particularly cool just because of the volume of oil as well in her, so no problems there at all. It does seem like quite a clean and neat setup, so very much like your modern day Porsches and 911s. You got to get her a little bit warm running before you check the oil level because of the dry sump setup. Just what we've got the seat up, you can see the setup on the handbrake, and you can see the detail that we've gone to with the seat runners and actually having them in keeping with the full theme of the car as well, with the aluminium made runners and the holes drilled in them as well. Just keeps a real theme throughout the car. It's the small details that really make a lot of difference. And then the leather through the back there as well. And then if I can just grab the light for a second, I think you'll get a better view of the back seat. Hope you enjoyed the video. Massive thanks to Wayne, who has done all the design work on the car from the day that we first got it, the original concept designs to how the car is built now is pretty much exactly how it was drawn. Also a big thanks to Australian VW Performance, who took the car on for us. We were living in Queensland at the time, then we moved to Sydney, then we were in Perth for a little while. We moved over to Doha. It wasn't a project that we could really handle in-house. They took it all on for us and did an absolutely amazing job. The car has been absolutely fantastic. So thanks very much to those guys. You will see a lot of the car. We're going to be driving it around in Melbourne. The plan is not to keep it stored up. We're going to bang some miles on it and enjoy the car, so you will get to see a lot of it. So it's goodbye from me, and goodbye from our 356 just for now, as we go park it back on level 8 and wait for lockdown to be over. We'll see you later, guys. Please like, subscribe. Check us out on Instagram at Outlaw Garage 2013, and we'll see you soon in a new video. See you later, guys. Bye.